Welcome into STB Sports Take, simply the best sports podcast. I'm your host, Sean Bingham. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere you get your podcasts. We are there. Thank you for being here. Please hit that subscribe button, the follow button, whichever button you're seeing, hit it. Spread the good word, spread the love. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram. Got a great podcast for you today. We are joined live by the one and only Clayton Levitt. We're talking NBA draft. We're talking a little Caitlin Clark. We're going to do a little LeBron Jordan debate. We got a lot of good stuff in store for you today. We're going to start with the NBA draft. Obviously, Cooper Flagg goes first. No surprise there. Everyone knew it. Everyone expected it. Everyone thought the draft was rigged just so Dallas could get him because they gave up Luka to go to Los Angeles to join LeBron and be like the next big star in LA. So no surprise at all that Cooper Flagg went number one. Interesting thing here, Clayton. I just looked it up because I was curious. I've been following the NBA since I was a kid. I was born in 81, so I've been following the league since the late 80s, we'll call it. And I thought to myself, I don't remember the last time a white guy went number one overall. So I looked it up. Do you want to guess when the last time a white American player went number one overall?
I'm going to say 2000s. It has to be 2000. Like, give us a little bit of credit here.
But you can't think of anyone, right? You can't think of a name. No name comes to mind.
No, like Darko was second overall.
Yeah, and this was white Americans, by the way. So Darko was number two overall, but he was also not American.
Oh, okay.
Last time white.
All of them are European that I can think of that could. So I'd say like 2000s.
1977, before I was born.
Stop it.
Before I was even born. And I'm an old man. So, yeah, it's been a long, long time. Okay, so with that, people are obviously talking about how Cooper Flagg's the first white American since 1977 to be drafted first overall. So then I found this tweet on X, or this post on X, whatever you call them now, showing the best white basketball players of all time. And this is not just Americans, but just white in general, right? So this is AI-generated image, but they've got Larry Legend, Dirk, Jokic, Stockton, and Jerry West. What are your thoughts here, Clayton, on this? Who are some other players that immediately come to mind for you outside of this list right here?
Number one from my homeland would have to be Steve Nash.
Steve Nash is one of the first guys I thought of as well.
Yeah, like that one to me. But like Jerry West, I see it, NBA logo, but I think you got to replace Jerry with Steve Nash. Even Luka Doncic came.
Luka. Yeah, Luka was the next one. I've got a list here. Luka and Nash were the first two I put on my list after these guys. And I also thought Jerry West would maybe get bumped down for them.
Yeah. What would you do your top five, do you think?
So this is a full list of guys. I don't necessarily have these in order, but this is just a list of guys that I could think of off the top of my head without cheating, without Googling anything, without looking stuff up. I just thought, who are like talented white stars that I can personally remember? And here's the list. Bird, Jokic, Stockton, Dirk, Luka, Nash, Chris Mullin. Remember Chris Mullin from the Warriors?
Yes.
The Dream Team.
Yep, 100%. He was dirty with it.
Kevin Love. Kevin Love was an absolute stud. Jerry West, Kevin McHale, Pistol Pete Maravich, the Gasol brothers. I don't know if they fully count or not, but the Gasol brothers, Pau and Mark Gasol. Tony Kukoc, Detlef Schrempf. Okay. Remember Detlef Schrempf? Did you ever know him?
No, that's before me, I think.
He was on the Blazers. He was really, really good. He's a European guy. White Chocolate, Jason Williams, played for the Kings. That guy was unbelievable. I think Kristaps Porzingis is an all-time great white player. Tom Chambers played for the Suns when they went to the finals and got cooked by Michael Jordan. George Mikan going way back into the day, Oof. Bob Cousy going way back. Dave Cowens played for some championship Celtics team, won a league MVP, so Dave Cowens. Bill Walton, Rick Barry, and John Havlicek. So that's my list of like all-time great white guys that just came to my mind. I'm sure I'm missing plenty, but that's the list.
I mean, when you say, because like I said, I'm not Googling this either, just off of what you said, Bill Walton, that's an interesting one that you can bring up a lot too. That guy.
Walton was a stud, dude.
Absolute beast on the boards, beast in the paint. So,
well,
we put him up there though.
We saw a few white guys get drafted early in this draft, so maybe there's hope. Maybe there's a great white hope out there.
I'm going to say it now. We're on the comeback, all right, for basketball. White people are on the comeback.
White men can't jump. We know that. No, but no, it's kind of just a funny subject. But it is interesting. You've got Jokic. Many argue is the best player in the league. I personally think Giannis still is, but a lot of people say it's Jokic. So there's guys, Luka's top 5, so it's happening. But Cooper Flagg, the next great white hope, we'll call him.
True.
Okay, so sorry, go ahead.
I think with Cooper going number 1 last night, I mean, it had to be rigged, but I want to hear your thoughts on it. I don't know. I just think that was pretty rigged, especially with the Mavs trading Luka. Anyways, it was interesting to me.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it was. I did a post on that, when it happened, when the lottery happened. It feels like they had a 1.8% chance to get number 1, and they got it. It just feels, and it just happens to come at a time when they traded away a top 5 player for an aging, injury-prone guy in Anthony Davis. It just felt like that was such a lopsided trade in favor of Los Angeles that to then have the Mavericks get the number 1 pick when it's the biggest prospect we've seen in years. I mean, the last few drafts have been solid, but Cooper Flagg has been the guy everyone's talked about for a number of years. So this has been like the most anticipated number 1 pick in a while. Next year will be pretty big too, likely with AJ DeBanza out of BYU, who we'll get into later. But this was a big draft. So it feels like, maybe they threw the Mavs a bone. There's also the conspiracy that they're trying to keep the team in Dallas because I don't know if you have heard this or remember this, but the owners want to do a casino and they want to combine it. They want to move the team to Vegas or something. And because they can't get a casino in Dallas, they're threatening to move the team to Vegas. And so this is the NBA's way of keeping the Mavericks in Dallas by saying, hey, look, now you've got the number 1 pick. You're going to be fine, whatever. I don't know. There's a lot of conspiracies around it. It's tough to prove anything, though.
It's just too coincidental. It doesn't make sense because I haven't heard that side of things. That was the first time I've heard it, is you saying that to me. Mm-hmm. So my first initial thought is things happen behind the scenes we don't see. It's a business.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
It happens. Oh, there's my thumbs up again. It happens. So I don't know. I just thought it was too coincidental. But for Cooper Flagg going forward, do you think he's going to be game-changing for the Mavs? Do you think he's going to be an all-star? What year? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so to me, Cooper Flagg is an immediate game-changer. I think I watched quite a few of his games. I've watched his scrimmages against Team USA that he did when he was 17 years old. I watched a lot of his games at Duke. I even went and watched him in person a couple of games. He literally has no basketball weakness. He's a fantastic shooter. He's a great ball handler. He's a great rebounder. He's a great rim protector, shot blocker. He's even a great on-ball defender. He's a great passer. There's literally nothing he can't do. So to me, his ceiling is as high as it gets.
So if you had to point out a weakness, what would it be?
So to clarify, I'm not saying he's phenomenal. He's not going to be the best ball handler in the world. He's not going to be the best on-ball defender in the world, but he's truly good at all of it. Genuinely. So I don't know that I can even think of one where I'm oh man, he's really weak there. I actually can't think of anything where I would say he's weak. He might be weaker at certain things, but I wouldn't say that he has anything that he's he's really below average at this. He's not below average at anything on the basketball court.
The Twitter X, the keyboard warriors out there, the biggest one, and I be interesting to hear your take on it. They talk about how his late game execution and mentality. That's the one worry they have of Cooper Flagg. I don't really see it because I'm dude, he's 19. He's put in the most high pressure situation.
I think he's just 18 still.
18.
Yeah, he'll be his first game. In fact, he's the second youngest number 1 pick ever behind only LeBron James. Yeah.
So that's the other thing, Sean, is he played with Team USA, and think about the nerves going into that. I think I'd be more nervous playing against Team USA, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, than having to play, some team out in Portland. And I don't know. To me, I think he's seen a lot, but that is his one worry, is his late game pressure. Have you noticed anything about that? Have you seen any worries there that you're hey?
No, I thought he did great. He had the one game in the tournament, and I'd have to go look it up. I don't have it right here offhand, but he had one game in the tournament where he did do, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I do remember there being something that people are probably referring to where he had a few blunders late in the game, maybe missed a free throw or something like that. But he came back the next game and was even better. So I feel like he'll be fine. And the late game pressure stuff, I mean, I know we lean on Michael Jordan hitting the shot in North Carolina as a freshman, the game winner in the national championship game. I don't know that that's a real concern. The other thing, though, is if I'm being honest, I don't know that Cooper Flagg. I don't know if he'd be that guy or not. That's going to take in the NBA. Will he be the guy in a championship contending team taking the last shot, or would he be more of like a? Because I don't know that Giannis would be, and Giannis to me is the best player in the league. But they probably would go to somebody who's a little bit better shooter and a better foul shooter if he gets fouled. So I don't know that you have to be the guy to have a great career or to be the best player on your team. You don't have to be the one taking the last shot. If you're a guard, you do. Anyway, that's just neither here nor there, but just a thought, I guess.
So here's another question for you. What is his ceiling? What's his low? What's his bottom? And what's his ceiling?
Everyone's bottom is just you're a total bust. You're a head case. Markelle Fultz, you get in your head and you get the yips in your shot, and his whole career just goes majorly downhill. Or even worse than that, where you just don't, like a Darko Milicic, where you're out of the league in a couple of years, or who was the guy that Michael Jordan gets teased for drafting number 1 overall? I can't think of his name right now, but
Anthony Bennett is I don't know.
Anthony
exactly.
Bennett's another one. Yeah, it's just like that. That's the floor for everybody. Like that's possible. Or even worse would be if you just get hurt. Like Greg Oden, you have like you're injury prone, you just can't be healthy. That would be worst case scenarios. You just get hurt. So the ceiling to me for Cooper Flagg, this might sound crazy, but to me the ceiling is maybe not with. Let me clarify before I say the name. Take out the longevity, take out some of the true greatness, but the all-around stellar play at a high level, leading your team in many categories, LeBron James type ceiling, where he can do it all. He can do it all.
Sean, that's crazy.
I'm not saying he's going to be all NBA for the next 20 seasons. I'm just saying he's that good where I could see him being the best player on his team in several different statistical categories for a decade. I could see that.
That's a bomb. I will say that. I'm pretty sure Cooper Flagg, he sponsored you or something, because I could see it though. All around player wise, I think his weakness is in the passing a little bit. I think he could do some better there, but I see it. I don't know if he's that number 1 option, Sean. I don't know if he's got the mentality, the aura for it. Maybe he does. Maybe I'm just being, because I think he's incredible. I think he's going to have an amazing career. But on top of that as well, I think there's just a little bit where I just don't see that it factor. Kind of gives me like Jaylen Brown, kind of Jason Tatum vibes. That's kind of what I see. But maybe I'm wrong. I haven't seen.
That's pretty good ceiling though.
Yeah.
And that's maybe that's a better comparison. That's kind of what I'm talking about, where it's like, I don't know that either of those guys is the best on their team in every category because they're on the same team. But what I'm saying is, when I say LeBron, I think that Cooper Flagg could be on a team that goes to the playoffs. Now, he's got Anthony Davis, Klay Thompson. Hopefully they get Kyrie Irving back, maybe at some point late this coming season, but likely not until the season after that if they can keep him under contract and all that stuff. In theory, those guys, now we've got injury-prone and aging Anthony Davis, injury-prone and aging Klay Thompson, injury-prone and aging Kyrie Irving, but all of them still have some gas left in the tank. In theory, if those guys can all be healthy at the same time for a full season or close to it, and especially for a playoff run, with Cooper Flagg in his second year, I actually think they could be title contenders. Now, before you go crazy thinking that that's outlandish, it's a big, tall order to have all of those guys healthy for the entire season and into a playoff run, because they just haven't been able to do it, even individually, for several years, let alone all together collectively. But if they could, Dallas has a really bright future, in my opinion. It's a short one because Anthony Davis, Klay Thompson, Kyrie Irving don't have a ton of years left, but Cooper Flagg does. So if they could get all healthy for one season, maybe 2, they might have 2 solid seasons with him,
So Anthony Davis, top 5 player in the NBA, I think, still.
I do not think that.
Well, I do when he's healthy. Do you think the fit?
Well, let's go through that real quick before we move on there.
Okay.
Top 5. So you tell me, I'll say his name, and you say if you've taken Anthony Davis over this guy.
Oh, gosh, dang it. All right.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
No.
Okay. Anthony Davis or Jokic. Anthony Davis or Luka.
Luka, for sure.
for sure. That was really the trade. Okay, Anthony Davis or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Oh, right now, like before the playoffs, that would have been a little more, but Shai. Yeah. After playoffs, Shai.
To me, it's SGA regardless. Anthony Davis or Anthony Edwards.
Anthony Edwards, yeah.
Anthony Davis or Steph Curry.
Based on age, probably Anthony Davis. If you're talking Steph Curry, though, like
we're talking right now. You said top 5 player in the league right now. I don't think he is. I don't even know if he is top 10.
I think Anthony Davis over Steph Curry. I really do.
Really? I would take Steph. But anyway, so we'll say Anthony Davis is somewhere between 6 and 10. I'll settle on that.
Okay.
I'm not giving you top 5, though.
Yeah, so fair. 6 through 10, he's a top 10 player in the NBA. And then you have Kyrie Irving, most showstopper, box office, best handles in the game ever. And then you have Cooper Flagg, Klay Thompson. Do you think that fit is going to be seamless?
I think it's an amazing fit, and I think it gives Cooper Flagg a chance to learn from champions. Klay Thompson, champion, 4-time champion. Anthony Davis, Mickey Mouse bubble title champion. Kyrie Irving, 3-1 comeback, but Kyrie Irving, champion. So he has a chance to learn from 3 veterans, 3 NBA champions, 3 Hall of Famers, but they're all kind of aging, and I do think they will be there to help him carry the team even further. Like, I can't imagine that he won't get more shot attempts than Klay Thompson at this point. I think Klay Thompson's going to have to become more of like hey, I'm going to score 14 a night just shooting threes. He's not the Klay Thompson of old. I wish he was. He's one of my favorite 2 guards of all time. But I would bet you that you'll see Cooper Flagg get the 2nd most shot attempts this coming season behind only Anthony Davis because Kyrie won't be there. And I would be surprised if he doesn't get more shot attempts up per game than Klay Thompson gets.
They're going to play him at the 3. They have to, right?
Yeah, I think they'll play him at the 3. Yeah, he could be 3 or 4 though. I mean, the league has shifted to where you kind of just need one rim protector, which Cooper Flagg could kind of do if they wanted to go small ball. He could play the 5 even in small ball, but in a regular lineup, I think he'll be a 3-4.
And so on top of that, Luka, Cooper Flagg, it's going to get the comparison. It's going to keep going. Do you think Luka and Cooper, like that, who wins that trade? Like, how do you tell?
Sorry, you talking about the trade with Anthony Davis, or are you talking about just they basically got rid of Luka and now they have Cooper Flagg? You're saying?
Yeah. So they got rid of Luka. They bring in Cooper Flagg, Anthony Davis. Like if Luka wins,
so he's you're saying Cooper's the new face of the franchise,
correct?
Replacing Luka. Yeah, I got it. I mean, those are big shoes to fill. They love Luka there in Dallas, and rightfully so. He had amazing playoff runs. He had MVP caliber seasons. He took them to the finals just last year, I guess now 2 seasons ago. Big shoes to fill. It's not easy by any means, but I would not be surprised if we see 2 seasons from now Mavericks fans just over the moon about Cooper Flagg, even more so than they were about Luka. It's all up to Cooper Flagg, though. Can he come in and deliver? The only reason, I shouldn't say this, the only reason, the big reasons why I'm so high on Cooper Flagg is that I watched him play at Duke against the best competition in the country and dominate. We watched him scrimmage against the best players in the world and do very, very well when he was 17 years old. He seems to have a really good head on his shoulders. He seems to be humble. He seems to be confident. He seems to be a hard worker. He seems to want to be there. Like, all the intangibles seem to be in a good spot for an 18-year-old kid to only get better and better. Then you put on top of that, like I just mentioned, the veteran leadership with Klay Thompson, Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, who have been champions that he can learn from. To me, this kid has a humongously high ceiling. So I'm stoked for him. I'm stoked to see how it goes. I know some people out there saying he's going to be a bust. I just don't think he will. I'd actually be shocked if he's a bust.
He has too much experience.
All right, enough about Cooper Flagg, number 1 overall pick. Super excited to watch him. We'll see how he does. We now just got to let the game speak for itself. I want to talk, though, now about the number 5 pick. We're in Utah, of course. The Jazz picked Ace Bailey. The reason this one's getting talked about a lot is because Ace Bailey, star freshman out of Rutgers, he refused to work out for any teams. Did not do a private workout for anyone. He really wanted to go to either the Pelicans, the Wizards, or the Nets. So he had let me redo that part. Now, he really wanted to go to either the Wizards, the Pelicans, or the Nets. He had kind of pinpointed those teams as like his top desired destinations, mainly because he wanted to come in and immediately be the star of the team right from the jump. Kind of like Michael Jordan was with the Bulls, LeBron was with the Cavs. A lot of early picks come in and they're the star right away, and they have a better chance to become a true superstar and whatever. So that's what he said he wanted. He refused to work out for any teams, which was kind of crazy bold by him. But the Jazz matched that crazy boldness by picking him anyway. So he didn't want to go to Utah. The Jazz at number 5 looked at the board and thought, this is the third best player in the draft. We are now drafting at number 5, and he's still sitting there. I don't care if he wants to go to the Wizards, who pick next, or the Nets, or the Pelicans. We're taking him. And they did. So Danny Ainge is the CEO of basketball operations with the Jazz. He has hired his son, Austin Ainge, to be president of basketball operations. He's not the general manager, but he is the decision maker. And this is his first move in that role in the NBA. He takes a guy, Ace Bailey, who did not want to go there, and he didn't get an individual workout with. Now, he did interview him when he worked with the Celtics before moving to the Jazz. So he is familiar with him. He did scout him heavily. And Ace Bailey was, by far, in my opinion, the best player on the board when the Jazz picked. They took him anyway. I personally love it. I've been hearing mixed reviews back and forth. I don't know what your take is, Clayton, but I love the fact that the Jazz said, you know what, Mr. 18-year-old Ace Bailey, I know you don't want to come here. I know you want to go to Washington. Who wants to play for the Wizards, by the way? Holy crap.
Yeah.
Or the Pelicans. Like, this kid wanted to go to the worst franchises in the entire league. But we don't care. We're taking you, so you can either come here and play and trust us. You're going to like it. Give us a chance. You're going to be a stud here. You're going to be a celebrity. You're going to be beloved. It's a good place to live. You can come here and enjoy it, or you can just not play anywhere. But we're taking you. We own your draft rights. I don't know. I liked it. What do you think?
So off what you're saying, I hope it's not a 4-year stint, 6-year stint where it's like, hey, kind of just my stop to my destination, kind of like Donovan Mitchell.
And Gordon Hayward before that.
Gordon Hayward, but 210 pounds, 6'10", and I think he averaged like 17, 18 points a game in college. Athletic as can be. Perfect pick.
One of the best scorers in the draft.
Best scorer in the draft. You could argue one of the, if they're not the best. And then I think it's a good pick for the Jazz and not telling him to, because he was super high maintenance. Because he was like, hey, I want to go to these teams. So I think the fact that the Jazz kept it a secret from him, we're like, hey, we're not going to, like they didn't tell him we're going to draft you, because he's going to get to Utah and he's going to realize, hey, this fan base is incredible. We need something to cheer about here. We need something to raise a little bit of excitement, because, like, be honest, like BYU sports is the most exciting right now. Like, people want to go to
and
that.
he is, he wants to be the number one guy, right?
Yes.
Well, who do the Jazz have that's like so amazing? Lauri Markkanen. Markkanen's good. But I could see Ace Bailey surpassing him by his second season. And it could be even something where this year we're like, holy crap, this kid can play, So he might be the number 2 option this season, but by next year he'll be the number 1 option.
So as a Jazz fan, because I'm not a Jazz fan, I live in Utah. I see it. I go to the games here and there. As a true Jazz fan,
I don't know that I'm a true Jazz fan. I was rooting for the Bulls to beat him in the 97 and 98 finals. So.
Gosh dang it. Okay, as more of a Jazz fan, are you excited about it? Do you wish you drafted somebody else?
No, I'm very excited about it. I sat and thought about it. When the Jazz drafted him, I thought, okay, this is the guy that everyone's been talking about. This is the guy that didn't work out for any teams. This is the guy that made it very clear where he wanted to go. So I don't really love these young kids being super demanding. But then again, I realized, well, if you're the stud that's commanding millions and millions of dollars from this franchise, you're good enough to dictate a little bit where you go. I just think that at a young age, maybe he's heard things about Utah, maybe, I don't know what it might be. But dude, you're going to come here to Utah. You are going to be an instant celebrity, even on a crappy team, because everyone loves you in small markets. You go to LA or New York and you suck, the team sucks, and it's just not the same. It's not. You're not as beloved. You're getting booed. You think the Jazz didn't boo their team when they won 17 games this year. So you're going to be beloved. You're going to be a celebrity. You're going to be appreciated, like fully appreciated. Small markets are just grateful to have a team. Sometimes I think that's the problem with them, is they don't demand greatness like some of the other teams do. but they're just happy to have a team. So they're so appreciative. We just saw Indiana and Oklahoma City reach the finals, 2 small market teams. So if players will stick and if coaches can develop properly, you can win championships in small markets. We just saw Oklahoma City do it against the Pacers. So it was literally one of the two had to win. So to me, Ace Bailey has a chance to come in, be one of the key, top 2-3 players on the team right away from the very, very get-go. He'll be a top 2 or 3 player on the team because Walker Kessler's good, Colin Sexton's good. We've got good players, but Jordan Clarkson. Yeah, so it kind of feels like the Jazz might be looking at what OKC did and thinking, we can do that. We can do that. The Thunder just won a title before the big contract, before those initial, I got to say this right. The Thunder just won a title before those initial rookie contracts even expired for a lot of these guys.
It's insane.
Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, they're still on their rookie contracts. They were drafted the same draft just a couple years ago. And those were 2 of the big 3 with SGA. So the Jazz are looking at that and they're thinking, okay, let's go get some studs. Let's go get Ace Bailey. Even if he doesn't want to be here, let's do our best to get him to like it for at least a handful of years. And maybe if we're lucky, we can stick with him or he can stick with us even beyond that. But let's at least, in a sense, force him to be here because that's our right as a team to draft in this spot and see if we can get him to like it for a few years. But I'd have no problem with that, dude.
Yeah,
why should that be a problem? Why should the Jazz feel bad drafting someone that said they didn't want to be there? That's how the draft is set up. It's their turn to pick. They pick who they want, And so now it's up to the 2 parties, the Jazz and Ace Bailey's camp, to make it work for at least a few years because that's how long he's going to be here. Is at least a few years.
Dude, with these 2, they killed it in the draft, the Jazz, first off. And then secondly, these fans better appreciate them. They always do. I'll give Utah fans that. They treat them like royalty when they're here. So
yes,
they always do that.
Well, that was so funny about Donovan Mitchell. I've interacted with Donovan Mitchell several times. That guy was worshipped in Utah. So for him to leave and go to Cleveland and talk about racism, I'm like, bro, I was around you multiple times in social settings. You were literally adored and worshipped. So to me, that kind of bugged me that he went and branded Utah as this racist place when I was like, I'm sure there are racist people everywhere. So I'm not going to downplay that. And I don't want to get into race, honestly. But that was something that really bothered me because it's going to scare more free agents away from coming here. And it might have played a factor in Ace Bailey not picking Utah as one of his top destinations because Utah sucked last year. He wanted all the other sucky teams, the Nets, the Wizards, the Pelicans. Why was Utah not on that? Did Donovan Mitchell's comments have something to do with it? I don't know. I'm just saying I watched Donovan Mitchell in social settings get absolutely worshipped. So that will be Ace Bailey.
Heck, even Jordan Clarkson's worshipped.
Yes, I've seen Jordan Clarkson in social settings multiple times as well. Worshipped. I mean, it's just how it is. The Jazz fans are so grateful for the Jazz.
I know.
And so when you're a player on the Jazz, it's just like, oh my gosh, So now that being said, I don't want to downplay anything that they might have gone through and all that, but we won't get into that right now.
Can I make this?
You said.
Let me make this transition because the sir, he has my same name. He's trying to, mimic his game after me. I think Walter Clayton Jr. Well, I'm just kidding, but one of the most prolific scorers in college basketball last year. Probably
and clutch, dude. Clutch play.
Probably could go down as one of the most clutch runs from a player. He himself, I watched those games, changed the last 5 minutes.
Yes.
Every single.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts on him coming along with Ace Bailey?
Okay, so I agree with you. I think the Jazz crushed the first round of the draft. In fact, I would say the Jazz did better than any other team for the first round of the draft. To get Ace Bailey at 5 and then Walter Clayton Jr. in the same draft, Walter Clayton Jr. is an absolute stud. And I like that he's a 4-year guy. Now, remember, he played at Iona for a couple of years, which sounds like Iona. Where the crap is that? Well, that was when Rick Pitino was the head coach of Iona. He was recruited by Rick Pitino. So this guy was definitely, he didn't need to go to Iona. He went to Iona to play with Rick Pitino. The second Rick Pitino bounced to St. John's, Walter Clayton Jr. bounced to Florida and then won a national championship as the guy making clutch shot after clutch shot after clutch shot. So you're going to have an experienced guy, 4 years of experience in college against top competition with great coaching like Rick Pitino, who coached in the NBA as well, one of the greatest college basketball coaches of all time, one of the greatest basketball coaches, period, of all time. He was recruited by him, played for him for 2 years, then went to a bigger school against better competition. The SEC was stacked this year. He stood out as one of the stars, and then he won the national championship with massive clutch play. So he's going to step in and really be more like a second or third year guy in the NBA, because most of the rookies are fresh out of 1 year of college, right? Like we just talked about with Ace Bailey and Cooper Flagg. Most rookies are like that. This guy played 4 years, so his ceiling's going to be a lot lower probably, but his immediate impact might be greater. So to me, the Jazz have a very bright future with the two of them. I'm stoked.
I am as well. I think he is an underrated pick. I think he could be, because like there's always a player in the draft, like the Kawhi Leonards, the Jokic's, the people who fall late. And I think he kind of could fall into that where it's like, hey, we got something special with Walter. He could honestly even turn out to be better than Ace Bailey. That's a bold prediction.
And a lot of it's attitude. I mean, I love his attitude. I love his leadership. Walter Clayton Jr., to me, has the intangibles. He's more mature, more experienced. I like the pick a lot. I was very, very excited with the Jazz first 2 picks.
And another one I'm excited about, if we're done on him, is the boy for my Raptors.
You were telling me before we started recording, what was his reaction? He's pretty excited, right?
Okay, I got to make sure I get his name right because it's a little bit of Colin Murray Boyles is who we drafted at the 9th pick. So when he got drafted, he dropped the F-bomb. And so it went viral on social media. And then the Raptors posted a picture of him smiling. He was like this. And he's like, see, guys, he's happy to be here.
Yeah.
So
Everyone's
he's an interesting one because the Raptors are great drafters. We have had our mishaps and like we've had bad draft picks, but we are like, there's small market teams, right? You have Utah, you have Thunder, you have, all the small market teams. But we are at a disadvantage because I wouldn't say we're a small market team. Toronto's a huge city.
Toronto's a huge city, but I agree with you. It's like nobody wants to go there. It's not in the United States, and it's freezing cold during the basketball season.
Taxes suck. They're almost just the same as California's, if not more.
Yeah.
And then you're getting paid, I'm pretty sure you get paid Canadian dollars. I don't think it's American. So
no, they would get USD for their.
You would hope, right? But
their contract is going to be. Yeah, maybe they get paid in the Canadian dollars, but it would be the equivalent of their contract value in U.S. dollars for sure.
100%. So if
otherwise nobody would play there. People would just say, I'm retiring.
So we've been riding the Kawhi. I might ride the Kawhi Leonard train for the rest of my life because that might be the only championship we see. But I do love the pick. He similar stats to Ace Bailey, similar build. I don't think he's as tall, but similar like playing style. I think it could be a good pick for us. Our downfall into Toronto, and I don't know how much you follow Toronto, but
not much.
The fans.
I follow them. They're in the NBA. I follow them.
Yes. But the fans in Toronto are so loyal. We ride or die. I've been ride or dying Sean since I was like 8 years old. So we need some excitement, and I hope this pick turns it around. I think it is. His athleticism is what I'm most excited about. So. But we're trying to trade for Jaylen Brown just like everybody else is. Trying to get Derek White. That was a rumor that just went out as well. So I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but I thought it was funny that he dropped the F-bomb when he got
Yeah, I admittedly don't know much about the kids, so I'm just going to take your word for it. But it's funny that both our teams, the guys that got drafted first, Ace Bailey was not exactly stoked to be drafted by the Jazz. It sounds like the Raptors had a similar experience with their draft picks.
Gosh dang it. I can bond on that.
Not everybody can be freaking Miami. Not everybody can be New York or Los Angeles. So
I know.
Got to go somewhere, guys. We don't want a 5-team league here,
So speaking of sorry,
one more pick I want to mention here before we move on. BYU guy. We're in Utah. I went to BYU. Did you go to BYU?
I did a semester at BYU.
Congrats. I graduated from BYU. So we're BYU guys. Yegor Demin went 8th overall. Now, I have a couple of thoughts on this. One, I'm stoked for BYU. I'm stoked for Yegor Demin. I think it's amazing. I hope he does really, really well. He's got a lot of potential. I don't think that potential showed itself at BYU his freshman year as worthy of being the 8th overall pick. It's just interesting to me that Jimmer Fredette went 10th overall as the consensus player of the year out of BYU. A point guard out of BYU consensus player of the year, went 10th, and Yegor Demin, who had a tiny fraction of the success at BYU as Jimmer Fredette had, went 8th overall. It actually feels like they draft more on potential than anything, and it feels like Yegor Demin's stock was only going to go down if he stayed at BYU for another year, especially with some of the studs they brought in where the spotlight wouldn't be on him as much. His stock was really high. He was kind of getting away with just being drafted on potential. Now, I will say this. I heard he had great workouts with teams. He had a great combine. His shot seemed to improve. So I'm not taking anything away from Yegor Demin. I think he's a great player with great upside, with great potential. I wish him nothing but the best. It's just an interesting thing to note that the same school, the same position, one guy was the consensus player of the year and went 10th. One guy had very average numbers and went 8th. But he was only a freshman who showed a lot of promise, and so they took him. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Jimmer was a little bit older. I think BYU is getting a better name for themselves and their program, especially with Kevin Young.
All true.
The workout facilities, everything is just kind of leveling up. And so I think that helps his case. I agree with you. His shooting needs to improve. Like, he will not succeed.
Dude, I think he shot 23% from three as a freshman at BYU.
Yes.
And that's college threes, by the way.
Was it 23 or 20?
I think he was like 23, 24% from three, yeah.
Either way, if it was anywhere above, like, even below 30% is so bad, right? So, but passing, unbelievable. So he's got that going for him.
Yep.
He kind of has an, oh my gosh. He has an overall, his overall game is incredible. Shooting has to improve, but his upside, he's very young. Do you feel like he can become a good shooter? His mechanics are really
good. And the other thing is, I got to be honest here, he's not a Jimmer Fredette. Like, he's not a scoring guy. He's a playmaker. He's a distributor, and he is better at that than Jimmer was, and that's what a lot of teams are looking for. So we'll see how he does on the Nets. I don't know. They don't have a very good squad.
Jimmer was underrated. His passing ability, Jimmer's passing was actually unbelievable.
Jimmer was a great player all around, but his scoring is what he dominated in, and that was what he was known for, his shooting and scoring ability. So they are very different players in that regard, is what I'm getting at. The point I'm making is that it's just interesting how much they're drafted on potential, and it's just high risk, high reward, because the risk of drafting a guy off potential is that you just wasted a pick on a guy that's going to be out of the league within 2 seasons. Yep. The reward is that you just spent a pick on a guy that you don't really know much about yet, just 1 year of college ball, but he turns into, LeBron James, who came straight out of high school, or Kobe Bryant, right? So anyway, it's just an interesting thought. That's all. But I wish Yegor Demin nothing but the best. I think he's a fantastic playmaker. That's what he'll be doing in the league. Maybe he turns into a Jason Kidd type of guy. Jason Kidd was a better shooter, but I think Yegor Demin's shot is already improving dramatically just in the last few months. So we'll see what he can do. But with that, let's stick on the BYU train here for a minute. Another big breaking news in BYU athletics this week was the signing or the committing of Ryder Lyons, 5-star quarterback recruit out of California, class of 2026, the 19th rated overall player in the class of 2026, committed to BYU to play quarterback at quarterback U. We're talking Jim McMahon, Steve Young, Ty Detmer. We haven't had this high of a recruit at quarterback in a while. Zach Wilson. But BYU has a great history of quarterbacks. And now he's going into his senior year right now. So he's going to play his senior year. And then he's going to go on a 1-year mission. I said 2-year because that's what we got to discuss. You served a mission, right?
Yep.
Where'd you go?
So I'm Canadian. 2 years in Salt Lake.
In Salt Lake, yeah.
Yep.
That's right. I did know that. So I served for 2 years in Russia, which is where Yegor Demin's from. But so the standard for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is a 2-year mission. But it feels like now I've been trying to look into this to see like official church, regulations or whatever you'd want to call it, standards. But it looks like his brother is taking a little leave from USC right now to do like a 15-month mission. I've never heard of that. And it looks like his plan is to graduate early. Ryder Lyons is going to graduate early right when football season ends in December, graduate, go on his mission in January, and then be back in time for spring ball in 2027 so that he can play spring ball, get a full summer of workouts in with the team, and be the starter as a freshman in 2027. So a lot can happen between now and then. A lot of people are super excited. There's a whole bunch of hype. He went on the Pat McAfee show to announce it. It's a huge deal for BYU. This is a big name. BYU is just doing it right now. AJ DeBanza in basketball, Ryder Lyons in football. Those are two of the biggest names in their individual sports, and BYU landed both of them within like a few weeks or a few months of each other, right? So this is a huge deal for BYU. That said, in this era of NIL and transfer portals, with Ryder Lyons having his entire senior year of high school plus a year on a church mission, he's 2 years out from actually coming good on that commitment. So there's a decent chance he doesn't end up at BYU. But as of right now, BYU's in the driver's seat. He's committed. And I think if he does go and serve that church mission, he'll come back even more excited to stay at the school that the church is operated and owned by.
There's so much to unravel here. First off, I got chills because you know me. I'm a BYU guy, and you're a BYU guy. But yeah. I got chills as you were talking about it, just because the excitement around it. Honestly, me and you need to go to a game. We should do a freaking live stream or something at a game and just watch AJ, and that'd be so fun.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, but I'm super excited. I think it was Ryder. BYU Nation had kind of we didn't count him out committing to BYU, but we thought we had no chance, right? So the fact that he committed, I know some of his family members go to BYU, so that might have helped as well.
Yeah, his dad went to BYU. Obviously, he's a member of the church that owns BYU.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm interested to see, I always thought, when Jake Heaps came from way back in the day, he was really high. That didn't really pan out. No. Not saying it won't with Ryder, but I'm excited. The hype is going to be there just like that. It's interesting because athletes who go on missions, I'm interested to see where he goes. How much is he going to be able to practice on his mission, and that kind of stuff will play into it too. Because serving a mission,
you have no time for anything but that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If he wants to practice, he's practicing at 10 o'clock at night, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got a little bit of time in the morning to work out, but we're talking 30 minutes. Then you got one day a week. So I'm sure he'll get throws in on a regular basis. He'll get brief workouts in on a regular basis. But at that age, dude, you can come back and within months be back. He'll be 20 years old when he gets home, or 19 and a half when he gets home. He'll come back and immediately get into shape quickly. That's why he's coming back for spring ball and then the full summer. By the time the fall rolls around, he will have been home for 7 months probably, it sounds like, at that point. He'll be fine. He'll be totally fine. So.
And I want to say one more thing. I'll speak to this too. Give a lot of props to that kid for wanting to go serve voluntarily for 2 years. Well, 15 months, whatever it is, a year. Because when you're that highly recruited, that much money is being thrown at you. To be able to go do that just speaks to his character and honestly being recruited in the future. If that's to another team, if that's to the NFL, good for him, good for his family. I couldn't be.
Yeah, and he was recruited by everybody, dude. What I was hearing is that Oregon was maybe the front runner for a while, but this kid had offers from LSU and every team you can think of. Now, Kalani Sitake and BYU offered him a scholarship when he was in 8th grade.
Oh.
14 years old. And he kind of referred to that, saying, these guys have believed in me for a while, and so I'm going. But BYU's just doing it right with the NIL. They're forking out big money. They're bringing in big names. They're in a big conference finally. It's exciting. It's the Wild Wild West right now, and I think BYU is doing it right with the way they're getting the big recruits. They're playing the game. A lot of BYU haters, a lot of Utah fans out there in particular, are kind of making fun or bagging on it a little bit. But it's no, that is the game that's being played by everybody now.
Yes.
You pay your players. That's what we do. We're willing to pay to get the best players here, and they're doing that with Ryder Lyons, AJ DeBanza. And real quick side note, Ryder Lyons? That is a name for a quarterback that's a stud. Ryder Lyons.
This is a show, man. This is Friday Night Lights.
It's like he was born to be a quarterback with that name. It's kind of funny how names do that. I was just doing the parade of homes here this last week, and I went to the house for, I guess, the founder of Crumble. Have you heard about this?
Yes.
Founder of Crumble Cookies, built this insane house. I went and toured it, at the parade of homes. The guy's name is Sawyer Hemsley. I'm like, this guy was just destined to be filthy rich with a name like that. Sawyer Hemsley. If you're not rich with that name, you're a disappointment.
And from Utah, has to.
And then I feel the same way about Ryder Lyons. Like, I can't think of a better name for a quarterback than Ryder Lyons.
And just kind of same, run off the Utah Jazz. BYU, Utah State fans, man. I'm not saying we have the best fans in the world, but I will say this. The fact that, like, I don't know. I don't know if it's because there's not a lot of people who drink alcohol here, and so we focus on sports, but the fans here are going to treat him like royalty. My sister, and you would speak to this too, because you were around Jimmer's like era as well.
Yep.
Jimmer, they told him stop coming to campus.
I know.
Don't
Dude, I lived next to Jimmer. I was like a few doors down from Jimmer.
No, you didn't. That's sick.
Yes, and he was in my ward, which for those listening, watching that have no idea what that means, the church group that you go to, like you go attend church with, he was in my same church group. And when he would walk in, if he walked in late, people would stop like mid talk at the pulpit and be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. Jimmer just got here." Like he was a celebrity like I've never seen before in real life, like where I knew the guy and like saw it in person. Did
he ever get bodyguards or anything? Or did they just say?
Not that I ever saw. I wouldn't surprise me if he did, but I never personally saw any. No.
I remember.
But the hype was so big. It's going to be hard to ever match that for any college athlete. Like I'm sure Tim Tebow had it, but at BYU, like I don't even know if AJ is going to have that kind of hype. Like Jimmer just took the whole country by storm. Everybody was talking about him. Everybody. Yeah. He was in rap songs. Kevin Durant was tweeting about him. Nelly talked about him. It was like everyone wanted to talk about Jimmer. They would freeze frame on SportsCenter if an NBA player shot from deep. They would freeze frame the clip and do a little graphic under their feet that said "Jimmer Rain." I mean, It was just another level of like Jimmer mania was on another level. So, it's a shame he didn't have NIL back then because he would have made millions and millions of dollars at BYU.
NIL, the social media, if social media was around then, like this could have been.
Yeah.
Because even Johnny Manziel was a couple, like 4 years after Jimmer as well.
Well, and Johnny Manziel, I don't know if you've watched that documentary, but he talks about how like, I think he got offered like $30,000 to sign autographs, like under the table,
Yep.
Illegal back then, or not illegal, but against NCAA regulations. And he did it, of course, and good for him, in my opinion. It's like these guys, why should the schools make billions of dollars when the athletes make nothing? They get a free scholarship and, a free meal at the cafeteria. But like $30,000, and he was stoked out of his mind, dude.
That's insane.
So I think about guys like that. I think about Jimmer. I think about Tim Tebow. I think about Johnny Manziel, Christian Leitner, some of these athletes who were absolute studs in college and their pro careers just didn't pan out quite as well. And I think, dude, how much money could Tim Tebow have made at Florida or Christian Leitner at Duke? Now, again, they both went on to the NFL, the NBA. They played for years. Same with Johnny Manziel and Jimmer Fredette. They went to the NFL, NBA, and played for years. But they weren't the superstar level. They didn't have like the same level of success at all at the professional level. How much money could they have made in the NIL era?
Hey, let's just do this off the whim here. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Okay. But I want to do a new segment presented by Tripio. Okay. New segment presented by Tripio. It's how much money would he have made in NIL? So I'm going to say the athlete's name, and then I want you to make a prediction, all right?
Okay. So today's money, I'm going to say.
Today's money. So first off, close to home, Jimmer Fredette.
10 million plus.
10 million plus. Give me more.
He was everything. The money was pouring into BYU because of him. Sponsorships would have been lining up. Now, I'm not saying BYU would have paid him $10 million, but he would have made $10 million easy because sponsors would have been lining up. The second he went to the NBA and sat on the bench in Sacramento, which was a crying shame, and then just kind of bounced around the league, his appeal to advertisers dropped significantly. So his appeal to advertisers would have been sky high at BYU. He would have had a shoe deal. He would have had, the sponsors would have been endless. Jimmer Mania, and even that name too, Jimmer Fredette, like such a cool name, such a marketable name. He would have made $10 million easy his senior year at BYU.
Love that. Johnny Manziel.
Same, $10 million plus, probably even more than Jimmer because he was a bigger place, a bigger sport. The hype was real. Beats Alabama. I mean, that guy, he was a walking highlight film. So it's tough for me to put a dollar amount to it, but yeah, 10 million plus as well.
Okay.
Tim Tebow, same thing. Tim
RG,
Tebow was
RG3.
RG3, not as much. Not as much as those guys. He won the Heisman, but there was not as much hype around RG3 as there was around Tim Tebow or Johnny Manziel, in my opinion. Like, those guys were so captivating for reasons off the football field as well as on the football field. Like, Johnny Manziel was super flashy and arrogant, and that kind of was a little bit of a draw for him. Tim Tebow had scriptures under his eyes. Like, it was a totally different draw for him. Whereas RG3 was just an amazing football player, but I don't know if their aura was there the same as it was with these other guys.
Cam Newton.
His is interesting because he bounced around and just had the 1 year at Auburn, so I'm going to say it would be less for him as well. There's a lot more when with Jimmer, you're a 4-year guy at the school. Tim Tebow, you're there for every year. Christian Laettner, you're there for every year. Johnny Manziel went early, but he was there for a couple of years and in the SEC. And so Cam Newton would have made plenty of money, but I think he would have made less than Johnny Manziel, less than Tim Tebow.
I mean, Cooper Flagg made $29 million or $27 million.
Yeah. How much of that came from Duke, though? That's where it gets iffy because he basically signed a shoe deal with New Balance. I think that was 15 of the 28 was from New Balance. So they knew he was going to be a star in the NBA, or at least they're banking on it. I shouldn't say they knew it because he hasn't done it yet, but they're banking on him being a star in the NBA.
Two more.
If he is, they got him for a steal.
Two more here.
Okay.
Audience is going to love this one because it's Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan wouldn't have made very much. Back then, it wasn't the same. The hype wasn't there. He was Mike Jordan. They even say that. He was Mike Jordan. So believe it or not, Jimmer Fredette would make more money than Michael Jordan at BYU than Michael Jordan would have made at North Carolina, just because the hype wasn't there yet. Even though he made the shot as a freshman, I don't know. Because I didn't live through it, but I think back then, without social media, without the internet, I think it would have been a lot harder. So I'm going to say he would have made a lot less than these other guys we've talked about.
Less than $1 million?
In today's money, no, he would have made more than $1 million, but less than AJ's even getting to go to BYU, I bet.
Fair.
Maybe to come back for his junior year, maybe then. But the real hype was around his freshman year, that shot. He did dominate. He was player of the year as a junior. So he was obviously a dominant player, but they just weren't viewed the same back then. Like, college players were viewed as like kids, honestly, even in their junior year. And now high school guys are treated like adults just because they're mega athletic. So there was just a different vibe around amateur athletics back then. So I think it would have been less for that reason.
And no three-point line either. They were playing
three-point line, yeah.
Okay, last one.
Sports in general weren't as popular. Like, there's a lot of reasons why I don't think it would have been. The TV deals. Like, there's so much that would need to change. Where I don't know how much money North Carolina was making off of him outside of just ticket sales in the arena. Whereas with Jimmer, it was like the entire country was talking about him. Johnny Manziel, the entire country. Florida, the entire country talking about Tim Tebow. So, anyway, yeah.
People are going to love that line, that Jimmer would have made more than Michael Jordan. That's a great one. So last one here, probably the greatest athlete of all time that we've seen out of high school, right? Most hype without social media, LeBron James.
Man, LeBron had more hype coming out of high school than any athlete in the history of the world, I would say. I can't imagine anyone having more hype than that. I remember Freddie Adu. Do you remember that name?
Oh, no, I don't.
Freddie Adu was a soccer player.
Okay.
And he played for DC United, I think when he was like 14 or 15 years old. You might have to fact check me on that. But he was a teenager. There was major hype around him. But it was soccer in the United States, so it can't compare to basketball. So, yeah, LeBron James had more hype coming out of high school than anyone ever has, certainly in the United States. So if LeBron James was able to get NIL money, it would have been record-breaking above everyone we've talked about, without question. I mean, didn't Nike sign him to a $90 million deal before he played a single game in the NBA? So it would have been something similar if he just would have done it a year in college first.
Do you think we'll ever see about more hype than LeBron James out of high school?
I don't know, man. And what's crazy, what's crazy is that LeBron has lived up to the hype. Like, so much hype coming out of high school. The Chosen One, which I guess he tattooed that on himself, but
yeah,
he's on the cover of Sports Illustrated as the Chosen One. He's the clear number one pick. Some people thought, maybe Carmelo should have gone ahead of him. And looking back, that wouldn't have been a horrendous decision because Carmelo had a great NBA career as well. Nothing like LeBron's, of course, but he had a great career. But to live up to that hype and that pressure at that age is remarkable. I mean, he's been to 10 finals. He's won 4. He's won 4 league MVPs. He's still playing 23 years later. We haven't had any crazy off-the-court issues. I can't think of anything that I've heard about LeBron James doing off the court that would bring shame to his name or to the league. I'm sure he's not a saint, but like the guy's he's just lived up to the hype. He's been a good role model. Like he has done it like big time. Okay, transitioning back to the NBA, a big debate going around right now is Kobe Bryant versus T-Mac, and Kobe Bryant, when he was alive, and the opinions of him when he was alive versus the opinions of him now that he's dead. And is he getting more hype than he's due? Was he as good as T-Mac? To me, this is crazy. Kobe Bryant was clearly better than Tracy McGrady. Now, I get it. Tracy McGrady scored a bunch of points. He was a fantastic basketball player, a very skilled basketball player. You can even look at certain seasons where his numbers are better than Kobe Bryant's. But there is so much more to being a great basketball player than just your stats. There is so much more to that. And that's where I think people just somehow they forget it or they don't understand it. But it's not just looking at their stats and seeing who has better numbers. Gilbert Arenas, who's one of the guys talking about it a lot, he had great stats from an offensive scoring perspective. He was nowhere near the player that Kobe Bryant was. So to me, this is ridiculous. Tracy McGrady was a great all-time player. He doesn't have the accolades. He doesn't have the championships. He doesn't have some of the intangibles to be on the same level as a Kobe Bryant. He just doesn't. What's your take on it?
I think a lot of it goes into, because T-Mac was unbelievable, and Kobe even said Tracy McGrady, he could never figure him out on defense. So I don't think that's the argument. I agree 1,000% with you. I think T-Mac didn't have the longevity as Kobe. I think Kobe, on top of what you were saying as well, like there's so much more to being a great player than just like, hey, I had a better season than you. Hey, I played for a different team than you. Kobe's mentality is widely regarded by the league as like Mamba mentality. Kobe, like, are you Kobe-esque or are you like, I'm going to say it, but I'm a huge LeBron guy, but like, or are you the LeBron guy? Do you want to be liked by everybody? Right. So like, there's those comparisons between that. Mm-hmm. And nobody says, is it T-Mac or Jordan? Nobody says, is it T-Mac or LeBron? Right. It's Kobe, LeBron, Jordan. And just stats wise, like Kobe's career was 25 points per game. T-Mac was 19. Rebounds and assists are pretty similar. But just if you go through it, it's just 18 All-Star selections to T-Mac 7, championships. I don't think it should be. Close. I don't think it should be a debate. I think the debate is, and you can chime one more time into this on like kind of what you think with the ring culture, but that's kind of why I think the debate popped up is ring culture.
Well, but rings are, and we'll get into that in a second, but like Kobe Bryant was truly, so I'm a Jordan fan. I've got the Jordan shoe painting here behind me. I'm a Jordan fan. Now, I'm a fan of the sport, and I'm ready to admit that somebody is better than Michael Jordan once I see it. I just haven't seen it yet, but Kobe Bryant was the first and only guy that I truly started to get nervous as a Jordan fan, thinking, holy crap, this guy might do it. This guy might actually become better than Michael Jordan was. He didn't quite get there, but he got really freaking close. In my opinion, he got closer than anybody ever has, including LeBron James, because LeBron has never struck me as the guy that I was like, he's coming for Jordan's throne. I've never felt that way. With Kobe, I kind of did feel that way. That's the honest truth.
That's fair. And I think a lot of people have that same opinion.
Kobe's 81-point performance against your Raptors.
Oh, come on.
Was, to me, the best scoring output in the history of the league, ahead of Wilt Chamberlain's 100. In the modern NBA, with actual witnesses to see it happen, to score 81 points when nobody was doing that, there wasn't some like crazy size advantage like Wilt had or anything like that. It was just, I'm this much better than all of you. I want it more. You can't stop me. No matter what you do, you're not going to stop me. I remember that night like it was yesterday. I remember the next morning just being glued to all the sports talk shows. That night to SportsCenter, I was just like, holy crap, this guy scored 81 points. At that point, nobody had even scored in the 70s. Actually, David Robinson scored 70 once, the last game of the season to steal a scoring title from Shaq. But it was a little bit of a gimmick thing where they were purposely trying to make sure he got the scoring title. So I kind of put that one to the side a little bit. But I don't know. I can't think of any scoring performances in my lifetime that even come close to that 81. And I include Jordan's games in the 60s. I include Devin Booker and Luka, and everyone scores 70 nowadays, at least once, it feels like, because the NBA is just score happy. That 81, to me, was the greatest scoring performance in the history of the league.
That one, and then Klay Thompson's.
Yeah, in like 3/4, that one. 60 whatever in 3/4. Yeah.
What was the greatest year for Kobe?
I think did he win the MVP in 08? Was that his MVP year?
I think it was 08, yep.
And they lost the title to the Celtics, but they beat them the next year and then repeated in 2010. So that's when he got his 2. So, and that's the other thing. His stats, I did look this up the other night, but his stats, everyone says that Shaq carried him to his first 3 titles. Even in his first year winning the title, he averaged over 21 a game for the playoffs. And it got even higher to 25, 29 a game in the next 2 years' title run. So he was, by their third title run, Shaq got MVP of the finals. But it was debatable who was better, to the point where the Lakers just a year or two later were like, sorry, Shaq, we're sticking with Kobe. So by the third title that they got together, it was like 1A and 1B, even their second title together. Their first title, it was definitely Shaq's Batman, Kobe's Robin. By their second title, it was much more even. And by their third title, I would say it was pretty much dead even between the two of them.
So did you see Gilbert Arenas talking about kind of like, did you see him talk about the Kobe and Shaq comparison? Gilbert Arenas got on with like Stephen A. Smith, Malik Andrews, and I can't remember who else was on there. There was a lot of Jay Williams and one more basketball player. I can't remember. But he sat there and he said, because the ring culture was really prevalent at this time, and he said, listen, the reason why Kobe isn't in that conversation with LeBron and Michael is because he was never 1A. Like, Shaq was always clearly the best player. Shaq was, and you guys always saw Kobe as the number 2. And nobody remembers the number 2. And I also thought, and it was kind of interesting to me because it was like KD and Steph Curry kind of get that comparison as well. Like, Steph gets discredited a little bit there. So what are your thoughts on
everybody
that?
remembers, to me, that's actually a great comparison, Steph and Kevin Durant. Like, Kevin Durant was better, but like, Steph was everything as well to that team. This was not a Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen type of thing. This was more of a Steph Curry, Kevin Durant type of thing where it's like either one of these guys can absolutely crush you on any given night. And by their third title for sure, Kobe Bryant was that guy. Their first one, he was not. Their second one, he almost was. And by their third one, he definitely was. And that's why the Lakers stuck with him. Eventually, Shaq left, goes to Miami. And it wasn't more than a couple years later or a few years later rather, that Kobe ended up winning 2 more without Shaq, and he had Pau Gasol, who's nowhere near the player that Shaq was. So, yeah, it's not the same as winning 6 as the number 1 guy like Jordan did, but you could argue with LeBron. I mean, D-Wade and LeBron, that first title year, and the year they lost to the Mavericks, that was part of their problem. It's like, we don't even know who the better player is necessarily. We don't know who the go-to guy is down the stretch. Is it D-Wade or is it LeBron? And to me, that's partially why they lost that finals against the Mavericks, is they were like kind of unsure. They probably should have leaned more heavily on Wade, looking back at how poorly LeBron played. But they didn't have, they weren't really sure because it was that evenly matched. And so even LeBron, to me, had major help with his titles. D-Wade for 2 of them, Chris Bosh as a 3rd option, Ray Allen as a 4th option on that second title team with the Heat. And then in Cleveland, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love, Kyrie hit the big shot. LeBron had the big chase down block. But the big shot everyone remembers to win Game 7 was Kyrie Irving hitting the 3. So even LeBron has had major help. Nobody wins a title on their own. Jordan doesn't win those titles without Pippen. LeBron doesn't win his without D-Wade, Chris Bosh, all the guys we just mentioned. Shaq doesn't win those without Kobe. So even though you're the best player, you know, it doesn't mean that you did it by yourself. So I'm fully in support of that. But the best players are less replaceable. So the argument comes down to who is more irreplaceable. And to me, with Kobe Bryant, he's certainly more irreplaceable than Tracy McGrady was.
Fair enough. That's fair. I agree with you on that. I was sitting in bed last night and I watched 2000 Shaq highlights. And Sean, come on.
Dude, the guy was an absolute. I've got Shaq as the 4th greatest player of all time.
That's high. And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying that's well-deserved, too. Like, he deserves it.
His peak was as dominant as we've ever seen.
Top 5. Starting lineup, top 5 for me.
Yeah.
I saw your video on ring culture. You know, it struck a little nerve with me, you know.
Yeah, LeBron doesn't care about rings anymore.
And I don't think my opinion is I'm going to support my opinion with Draymond Green. My opinion is he cares about rings. What he's saying is, hey, don't discredit these players because they didn't get a ring. So Draymond Green went on a podcast with, I can't remember his name, but he went on a podcast and he's like, hey, what did you think about LeBron's comments? And Draymond was like, listen, like LeBron, he's my guy. I love him. This is what I thought he was saying. I can't speak for LeBron, but LeBron was saying, and I think a lot of people had this opinion who kind of understood basketball. He was like, we're not trying to discredit people who didn't. He's like, people who've won championships, they'll never understand. Like people who haven't won one, they'll never understand what it's like to win a championship. What he's saying is like, hey, the Steve Nashes, the Carmelo Anthonys, the Karl Malones, John Stocktons. He's like, those guys were incredible. Like they probably won in college. They probably were the best in high school. And so like, don't discredit them as winners. So that's what I thought. And I want to get your take on what Draymond had said.
Well, first off, of course, another thing we got to keep in mind is I'm pretty sure Draymond's podcast is part of like Clutch and like LeBron's whole empire. So he's got to tread lightly. He's an employee basically of LeBron. But everybody has that opinion. Like everybody knows that they're important, but they're not the most important thing. LeBron fans love to point out that like Jordan fans just say 6 for 6. No, that's just one of many things that we say. More MVPs, more Defensive Player of the Years, more dunk contest championships, more scoring titles, more steals titles, more first team all defense, higher PER. Like there's so many things that Jordan did more of and better than and in less time. Championships is just one of them, and it's one of the biggest ones because that's what you play. You play to win the game. Remember that quote from whatever that coach's name was in the NFL. But you play to win the game. You play to win. LeBron went to Miami and said, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7. He said not 7, like as if he was going to go get 8 championships with D. Wade. That's what he went there for. He has ring chased his entire career. The second he could, let's see, I want to say this right. He has ring chased his entire career. He left Cleveland to go to Miami to ring chase with a super team, a very clear super team, one of the biggest, most dominant super teams from a roster standpoint that we've ever seen in modern NBA. The second things got a little bit rocky there, and he could tell that D. Wade's health was declining. He bounced knowing that he was going to have Kevin Love join him and the number 1 pick in Kyrie Irving. And he formed another super team back in Cleveland. People act like he did this big favor to Cleveland to go home. He went back to another super team. To me, that roster, that big three, was definitely better than the Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Draymond Green big three. There's no question. The better big three of the two was the LeBron, Kyrie, Kevin Love trio. So he was expected to win a title there. He got one and then leaves again after Kyrie left. He's like, I got to get out of here. And at this point, he's kind of in the later stages of his career. He's proved to be 7 years into LA now, is still doing it. But he bounced to go join a big market, build his brand in a different way, and he knew he could eventually get Anthony Davis, and he did. So LeBron has chased rings his entire career. He has failed more than he has succeeded at winning them, even at the level of getting there. And now, to me, the big debate is what was the motivation behind saying that? Was he really trying to make people think that Karl Malone and Charles Barkley were better players? Everybody has those guys ahead of Draymond Green. They played the same position as Draymond Green. He has 4 titles. Malone and Barkley have 0. No one who has even a little bit of basketball knowledge would put Draymond Green ahead of Charles Barkley or Karl Malone. So we all know that rings aren't the end-all, be-all, which is what LeBron said. Nobody actually thinks that. He's just saying it, in my opinion, to diminish rings just enough so that they're not used against him with the Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan arguments, because they both have more than him. So to me, it's not about LeBron being right or wrong. He actually is right, but everybody knows that. It's the motivation behind him saying it. Can you imagine like Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan saying that? Like, rings aren't everything. They are everything. That's what they all play for. That's what LeBron has said his entire career. We're winning championships, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7. So to me, it was about the motivation. And Draymond's in a tough spot because he's not Charles Barkley. He's not Karl Malone. And without Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant, he has 0 rings. He's not going to be the number 1 guy on any even remotely close to championship contending team. He couldn't be the number 1 guy on the worst team in the league. So Draymond's heavily motivated to really value rings. He loves talking about rings. And for him to say that if you haven't won it, you have no idea. Well, I think the guys like Karl Malone and John Stockton, who went to 2 titles and lost them, have at least kind of an idea what it's like to work that hard and get there. They didn't win it, but you can't tell me they don't know anything about it. He loves to talk about Charles Barkley. You don't know anything about it. It's like, dude, He's a Hall of Fame basketball player who went to a finals and lost to Michael Jordan. I think he has a pretty good idea what it takes to get there. So to me, I get it, but Draymond is a LeBron stan. He's kind of a LeBron groupie, employee, whatever you want to call him. So he had to tread lightly because he uses rings against other people all the time. But he had to also back up LeBron because LeBron is right. And I'm not saying LeBron isn't right. I just think the motivation behind it was that there was a hidden agenda.
To Draymond Green's credit, he shows up in the biggest games, the biggest moments. Like when
he's a great player. He's a great player. He's a role player though. He would be a role player on any team. He's not a superstar. He's a role player, period.
And I think it was interesting because he is an employee of Clutch, and I always have noticed, he's LeBron's, close friend. He's got to, be careful there. But what I do also see from that is, hey, Draymond is Draymond's a little more, hey, I have rings. That is my prop. It's just kind of what you were saying as well. So I think there's a good balance there. And like you said, anyone who knows basketball understands it. LeBron is on a media tear right now. He realizes, hey, I've got a year or two left, either this year or I'm playing one more year with Bryce. I could see LeBron playing this year and then retiring and then just playing one or two games with Bryce and Bronny. Or I could see him playing the 2 years, right? That's kind of what my prediction is.
This has got to be his last year. I don't know. He still performs at a high level. I do think there's a lot of empty calorie stats with him. I just do. I think a lot of his numbers are inflated just because he knows how to play the game in a way where he can get his stats to keep. It's kind of like Aaron Rodgers does with the passer rating thing. It's like you're not really doing much to win critical games, but your passer rating stays high. They just know how to manipulate what they do to keep their stats high. And I do think LeBron at this point is more worried about narrative and stats than he is about winning championships. I genuinely think that.
Oh, I think so too. I think at the end of the day, he's trying to win another championship because he knows. But at the end of the day, it's not the most important thing.
But he knows what he has a better chance of controlling is his personal stats and the narrative. I think he has a better chance of controlling that than he has of winning a title. And I think he knows that. And so he's working harder on those two things. I'm going to make sure I get mine, and I'm going to make sure that people, all my, bronzesexuals out there, say what I want them to say about it. I want them to talk less about rings. When did we talk about NBA Finals appearances before LeBron James started losing a lot of them?
Yes, but this is where we'll get into it here. And this is
Jerry West, we now know he's been to 9. I actually still don't know what number it is. I think it's 9, maybe it's 10. I think he's 1-8 in the finals. But nobody talked about Jerry West as this amazing player because he got to 9. It was actually talked about he only won 1. But LeBron James somehow has shifted the narrative. Guys like Nick Wright are now talking about conference finals appearances. Who cares if you made it to the semifinals and lost? It's the weirdest thing. You either win the championship or you don't win the championship. And Nick Wright wants to hang banners for going to the semifinals. So to me, it's just crazy. We only started talking about finals appearances or conference finals appearances when LeBron James started losing a lot of finals. Nobody talked about this guy's been to Stockton and Malone have been to 2. Jerry West went to 9. It's no, it was actually used against them. They, Stockton and Malone couldn't win the big one. Jerry West got to 9 and was only able to win 1. It was this downer. It was a bad thing. It was a negative. And now people are trying to spin it into a positive when really LeBron was in a crazy weak Eastern Conference for his entire career. And that's how he got to 8 straight. And it was evidenced by him being swept twice and gentlemen swept twice. So 4 times in the NBA Finals, in 4 of his finals appearances, he went 2-16. So he was not even close to being the champion those years. He was not even close to winning the championship. He probably would have finished 3rd or 4th or 5th in the Western Conference those years. Would have been bounced in the second round. But because he was in the East, he gets to the finals and gets swept. Big deal.
Fair. But you got to remember, going 8 years to the NBA Finals is unheard of. That is unbelievable.
It is unheard of. But it's a little less impressive when you take into account that he was swept twice and gentlemen swept twice.
Yeah, but Sean, he was the favorite in none of those finals.
Which says he wasn't better than them. He wasn't good enough.
No, but it's a team game.
Since when is being the underdog and losing a good thing? being the favorite and winning, like, how do people use that against Jordan? Jordan was the favorite because he was better, and everybody knew he was better. So Vegas, the bettors were like, I'm not going to bet against Jordan. Look, the Vegas and the money are telling you, we're going to bet against LeBron James. And somehow people want to spin that into a positive. It's crazy.
Yeah, but LeBron also had to deal with Kevin Durant. He also had to deal with, when he went with the Warriors in 2015, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love going down with an injury, which was like...
I will say this. I will give you that. Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving going down in 2015.
I think they win.
Was a huge bummer. I actually think the Cavs probably win that one if those two stay healthy. I'm with you on that one.
I do too. 2011, LeBron has admitted total collapse. Everybody knows it. But every year that he's been the favorite, he's won. Every year he's lost. And I'm not saying
2014, dude, as well. Like, or was it 2013? Because they won in 12 and 13. 2014 when the Spurs beat them, gentleman sweep, by like a record margin of defeat, margin of victory. Like, there's no reason that Heat team.
Dwayne Wade was injury ridden. He was not his same self. He was going against a Spurs team who was shooting lights out.
He was going against dinosaurs in Manu Ginobili and Tim Duncan, and they lost. Like, that team should have absolutely beat that Spurs team. Without question, they should have. And if it isn't for Ray Allen, he doesn't even get the one the year before that. They lose in 6.
Yeah, but LeBron scored, what was it? The first 15, 16 up to that point? 16 in a row?
I know. I'm just saying, like, because we can go look at and maybe we should one day, but like, Pippen did not have, like, what Pippen performance can you point to? It was like he saved the day.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Okay,
for one moment that Pippen did where like he saved the day. We can point to so many with LeBron where his teammates saved the day. And people might say, watching, might be like, oh, John Paxson made that one shot, or Steve Kerr made that one. Yeah, that's one freaking shot by a role player, not a superstar like Kyrie Irving scoring 41 points alongside you.
And I agree with you. I think there is a discrepancy in the eras. I think that Jordan played in an era where it wasn't as competitive. I'm not saying the competition wasn't there. Like, he had the Pistons, he had all those people he had to say. What I am saying is, hey, I think there is a discrepancy in the finals opponents. I think there's a discrepancy in how the game is played. Especially
there's not as big a discrepancy as in the finals opponents as you'd think. Like, Jordan faced more 50-win teams. He faced and beat more 50-win teams, more 60-win teams. Now, in the finals, like, the Sonics won 60-plus games the year he played them. The Jazz won 60-plus games both years he played them. Like, what more does he have to do? The only reason they're viewed as different is because they didn't win it ever, because Jordan wouldn't let them win it, so they're not viewed the same in history. If Stockton and Malone had 2 titles and Jordan beat them in a separate year, those would be viewed as like, holy crap, that's a great finals. But Jordan didn't let anybody else win in his prime. He just didn't. He won 3 straight, took a 2-year break to play baseball, won 3 straight again, and retired. So in his prime, once he hit his prime, once he finally got past the Pistons, and he beat the Lakers in the finals, and he just steamrolled for essentially 6 straight years. I get it, there was a 2-year break in the middle. So I think a lot of those finals are viewed as like not great finals opponents because they didn't win one. Gary Payton was a great player. He later won one with Miami in 06 with D. Wade. But he was not, he was kind of he started actually. Didn't he start on that team? I can't remember. But
can't remember.
But anyway, to me, like, the finals opponents, yeah, he didn't face a Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green style of team. He didn't. I'll admit that. That was a stacked team that should have won every title that they won. And they would have beat your Raptors too if it wasn't for both Klay and KD going down. But that's part of the game.
Yeah, right.
So
I think it's going to come out to this, Sean. Whoever can put out the most documentaries is going to win the GOAT debate. This is what it feels like at this point. It feels like who can put out the most social media, most debates, and
well, Jordan's not putting anything out.
But Jordan, put out his which give it
he
credit.
He didn't put out The Last Dance. No, Jordan did not hire those people. He did not pay for that.
He had to give approval.
Beating down his door. Let me talk about you. Let me cover you. Let me interview you.
But he was strategic. He knew when to drop it, and then he's coming back to NBC because he knows. And I'm not saying Jordan. You got to admit it. Jordan's the most competitive guy, probably more competitive than Kobe. LeBron, I think, is just as competitive. He just takes it at a different angle.
I don't think Jordan strategically dropped it during the COVID break because he thought LeBron was taking his throne. I think he dropped it because he was like, oh, people are craving the NBA right now, and it's on hold for like months because of this global pandemic. I think it was more of like that type of strategy, not a strategy of like, what's LeBron doing? LeBron hadn't won a title in several years, and he did end up winning the bubble title months later, but Jordan didn't know that was going to happen. And now if you said he dropped it right after, if The Last Dance had dropped right after the bubble title, then I would maybe listen to the argument that it was strategic in that regard, but it was dropped because of the global pandemic break. People are craving the NBA. They don't have it. Let's release this now. It's finally ready.
Was it released after he won his championship, though?
No, it was released in April of 2020.
But, yeah, we'll see who puts out more documentaries,
I think you're going to find that 10 years from now, very few people are talking about LeBron James as the greatest of all time. He'll be like a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar type, where it's like, yeah, he's in the mix. He's up there for sure in the top few. And there's some that believe he's the GOAT, but I think as he retires, it'll get less and less people that are talking about it. But maybe he keeps pounding the pavement hard with his campaign to be the greatest ever and wins more people over. But
you also have to understand from like my standpoint as a LeBron guy, I think a lot of people are thinking the exact opposite. Like Michael will always be considered one of the greatest, but like it's going to switch to LeBron. And then after that, somebody else, because like all those draftees who came in, they sat down and they said, "Who's the greatest? Who are you most excited to play with or play against?" And all of them were like, "LeBron James, like he's been playing as long as I've been alive." And Kai Cenat was like on that Fanatics panel. He's like, "LeBron, you can't leave, man. Like I'm 23. You're going into your 23 season. You've been there with me the whole time." So, like, I can see both. Like, I feel like Michael Jordan will always be considered because he inspired LeBron.
Yeah, and LeBron is one of the GOATs. Like, I admit that all the time, very openly and freely. He is one of the GOATs. He is a Mount Rushmore level player in the league, and he is like one of the cornerstones of the league. You could even argue at this point. Magic and Larry put the league on the map. Jordan took it to another level, made it global. And LeBron has, I will say this, though, the ratings have reached kind of an all-time low under LeBron's reign. And so there's something to be said about that. Now, I get it. Social media came out, the internet streaming, there's a lot of competition for attention. But the fact remains that some of the lowest-rated finals in history have been under LeBron's reign, and some of the lowest ratings in general. All right, one quick note I want to make, sticking in the NBA, then I know you got a Caitlin Clark take we want to get to, but the Celtics have essentially gone into full rebuild or retool mode. They traded away Drew Holiday, traded away Kristaps Porzingis, are allegedly open to listening to trades for Jaylen Brown and Derek White. They're basically saying, you know what? We don't have our best player, Jason Tatum, for next season. A lot of these other guys are getting a little bit older. Let's just reboot right now. Porzingis gone, Drew Holiday gone. We're going to listen to offers for Jaylen Brown and Derek White. To me, it sounds like they're just getting ready for Tatum to come back. They're also probably gearing up for that second apron where there's crazy luxury tax and all that stuff. They're basically retooling, which I'm surprised by. It feels premature to me because I think the Celtics were the best team in the league this year. It didn't prove out that way. The Knicks were going to beat them even if Tatum doesn't tear his Achilles. But to me, going into the playoffs, the Celtics were the favorites. I would say OKC right behind them. But next year, they have no chance without Tatum. And so they're kind of looking at it and saying, you know what, let's just completely start now so that by 2027, when he's back, we can be contenders again. I think it's a little premature. What do you think?
So first off, I need to start by saying Brad Stevens, I think, is the greatest coach. But I know he's not a coach now. He's a president or GM. I can't remember.
He's the one making all these trades.
He's calling all the shots. So I'm going to say I would trust in Brad. I think he sees something that a lot of us don't see. He's like, just kind of your point. Hey, 2 years from now, these guys' prime is gone. So
Drew Holiday certainly 2 years from now will not be the same. He's a little older.
Exactly. He'll be 37, I'm pretty sure. Injuries on top of that. Jason Tatum's going to take him a year after injury to get back to it. So really you're looking at 3 years of a true Celtics team that's at full strength. I don't know where they go from here. I don't see the vision yet. Do you see kind of what the moves he's trying to make? Do you see what they're trying to push for? I see a rebuild, but
they're trying to get younger, obviously. I guess we'll see how it goes over the next little bit. It'd be interesting if they trade Jaylen Brown and Derek White, though. That might be like Jerry Krause-esque. Jerry Krause was, of course, the guy that ended the Bulls dynasty. He just said, no more. They could have absolutely won a fourth in a row in '99. that was a strike-shortened season that the Spurs won the title in. The Bulls could have won that. Like, age was against them. A strike-shortened season is in your favor with age, right?
Yep.
Like, one of the hardest things to do as you get older is to sustain the same level of play through 82 games plus long playoff series. That was a 50-game season in '99. The Bulls win that championship without question. If Jerry Krause doesn't blow it up, force Phil Jackson out, Scottie Pippen leaves, Jordan retires, Rodman leaves, the whole thing just gets completely blown up in '99. Cool. They win that title if they keep that team together. This could be similar to that with Brad Stevens, just going a little bit early, just jumping the gun just a touch. Kind of like Bill Belichick tried to force Tom Brady out for years, only to watch Tom Brady win Super Bowls late with New England and then go to Tampa Bay and win another one. Like, I get it. You don't want to hold on to guys too long to where it's like, crap, we're like now kind of handcuffed by this aging superstar that has no chance of winning a title. I just don't think that's where the Celtics are right now. So I'm kind of surprised by some of these moves.
Do you think he's pulling a Sam Presti?
I mean, everyone's trying to pull a Sam Presti, but he's the best in the biz. Nobody can beat Sam Presti. You give Sam Presti the Boston market, he's going to be crushing it. Look what he just did in OKC. Give him Miami, New York, LA, Boston, big market, he'd crush it.
If you had to choose an NBA franchise to take over, to turn around, what would be your choice?
The Jazz. I live in Utah. You know, I'm not buddies with Ryan Smith. I do know him. I have met him. Nice guy, very smart businessman. I'm sure he's got plans. But the team has gotten undeniably worse ever since he got here and took over. So I'd be very interested. I live in Utah. I love Utah. I'd be very interested in working for the Jazz and trying to turn the thing around. It'd be really, really fun. It'd be a very difficult job. Everyone thinks they could be a GM. We all play fantasy football and think we could go do it. It's very different in real life, I'm sure. So we're all armchair quarterbacks. We're all armchair GMs and owners and stuff. But it would be really fun to take the Jazz and see what you could do with it.
Yeah, you and Danny Ainge could cook something.
I mean, he hired Austin. He can do it.
So ESPN BRW Sports came out with an article, Sean. Get this. So the Golden State Valkyries, honestly, I'm not a huge WNBA follower. I follow Caitlin Clark, and that's about it.
Yeah.
But Golden State has a team called the Valkyries, and they just passed $500 million as an evaluation for a team in women's sports. So it's the first team ever. The team has gone up 100% in the past 12 months, and the WNBA teams are collectively worth $3.5 billion. The top three most valued teams are the Golden State Valkyries at $500 million, New York Liberty with Sabrina and Brianna Stewart at $420 million, and then I'm sure this team skyrocketed as soon as Caitlin Clark came in, was the Indiana Fever at $335 million. Mm-hmm. So do you feel like the WNBA has a bright future ahead of them? Is this correlated to Caitlin Clark? I want to get your thoughts.
So, yes, the WNBA has a very bright future ahead of it. It's not just Caitlin Clark, but Caitlin Clark has put the whole thing on the map. And because of that, we're all realizing, like, oh, this is actually kind of fun to follow as well. It's nothing like the NBA, in my opinion, but it is fun to follow. Now, as far as valuations go, the Valkyries are connected to the Warriors, who are one of the most valued franchises in the NBA. I'm pretty sure all of these WNBA franchises are owned by NBA teams and the same owners. So it's not surprising to me that one of the most valuable NBA teams has one of the most valuable WNBA teams. Same thing in New York. It's big market. Both of them are big markets. San Francisco, New York, massive markets. But would anyone actually buy just the Valkyrie for $500 million? Yeah. I don't think they would. But I do think they would buy the Fever, especially if they knew that Caitlin Clark was going to be there. The only reason it's valued higher is because it's a bigger market and it's connected to the Warriors, or it's a bigger market and it's connected to the Knicks. In Indiana, however, it's just connected really to Caitlin Clark. The value is all about her. So if someone were to say, I'm going to sell, or I have $500,000 I'm going to spend that I have to spend on a WNBA franchise, is anyone in their right mind not taking the Fever? If you don't get anything else attached to it, you don't get any ownership in the Warriors or in the Knicks, you just get the WNBA franchise, you'd be pretty crazy to not take the team that had Caitlin Clark.
I have mad respect. Have you ever played like a professional college athlete, girl, basketball, or WNBA?
I have a pretty crazy story about that, but I'm going to let you tell me first.
Okay, I want to hear it. No, you can't let that go. So I've played a lot of college girl athletes before, and they're like, I respect them. They are good. They are athletes. They know what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Like, they've put a lot of work in, and they could probably beat any person who says like, "Hey, I'm decent at basketball." Now, I'd say like high school athlete to college and WNBA, that's for sure a conversation for male and female. But if I was a NBA GM or somebody looking to buy a franchise, I'm 100% with you. I feel like if I looked at the books of the New York Liberty or any of these teams, I would say this is the worst investment of my life. But to your point, Caitlin Clark is the WNBA. I would buy that franchise knowing I'm going into a deficit because it has Caitlin Clark. Because I know I'm going to sell out an arena. I know my jersey sales is going to be there. Because like at the end of the day, it's a business and she is the prize. She is what drives everything.
It really comes down to how long can you keep her on that team. Is she going to want to bounce to a bigger market like we see NBA players do? I don't know. But right now she's there, and she's everything to that team. She's everything to that league. So it's a big thing. But so my story, I don't even know if I want to say this yet, but we're going to. In the late 90s, that's when the WNBA was formed. I was in high school. This is a true story. So the Utah had a team back then. They were were they the Stars? I can't remember. I think they changed the name at one point. The Utah had a WNBA team originally, and there was another team that came. I'm trying to remember the exact thing. Okay, I got to start the story over. Let me see what year the WNBA came out. What year did the WNBA? Yeah, 96. I knew it. Okay, so here's my story. I graduated high school in 99. Okay, I'm 43 years old. So the WNBA was in infancy back then. So I want to make sure everyone understands that as I tell this story. But in like 98, I believe it was, 1998, my senior year of high school, I was on the basketball team, and Utah had a WNBA team at the time. I believe it was the Stars. They don't exist anymore. It could have been a different name. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. But there was another WNBA team in town to play a game against the Stars. And they came to our high school, Skyline High School, to practice and do a scrimmage. They were there for a couple days.
No way.
And they scrimmaged against boys in our high school that did not make the high school team. This is a true story. I had friends that played in this scrimmage.
Shut up.
Not good enough. They were not good enough to be on the high school team, and they crushed the WNBA team. This is a true story. Now, again, this was in the 90s. So I don't think that would happen nowadays at most schools. It would still in some cases because that's just the difference that there is. That's why I don't think men belong in women's sports. But that happened, and I watched it with my own eyes. So there's a big difference. You know, I do think basketball has come a long, long ways since then. Women's basketball has gone leaps and bounds in the last 30 years since that happened. Or I guess 25, whatever it's been, 24 years or something like that.
Yep.
Huge, huge advancements in women's basketball. I mean, Caitlin Clark and all the WNBA stars would annihilate me and any of my friends, okay? I want to make sure that's clear. But that story did happen. A WNBA team scrimmaged just a bunch of guys at my high school that weren't even on the high school team, and they got clobbered.
So that begs the question, do you think a high school team, let's say, top 10 in the state versus WNBA team, who are you taking?
Oh, I think the high school team would destroy them. I don't even think it would be kind of close.
Really?
A top 10 high school boys team against a WNBA team, it wouldn't even be close.
I hate to admit it, but I kind of agree with you on that.
Oh, it wouldn't even be close, dude. Like the athleticism, the difference in size and strength and athleticism is just too great. Like a top 10 boys basketball team in high school, I mean, they'd beat most junior college men, you know?
I want to see Team USA versus the Utah State champs or the California State champs, Team USA girls. I would pay massive amounts of money to be.
Well, dude, so I've got a group chat with some buddies. Let's see here. I got to find this. This just happened.
Oh man, the group chats. You got to keep those things online.
Oh, here it is. Switzerland's women's team ranked 23rd in the world. Women's national team. So I butchered that. Switzerland's women's national team is ranked 23rd in the world, okay, for women's soccer. They played a 15 and under boys team and lost 7-1. This just happened this week. 15 and under.
Yeah.
So they weren't even like juniors and seniors in high school. We're talking like 8th graders, freshmen, maybe a sophomore or two on this team, 15 and under. Boys team. against the national team, and they lost 7-1.
There's a clear
So
discrepancy.
the point of this is not, the point of this is in no way to take away from what women's sports are doing. I actually really enjoy women's sports. I enjoy watching Coco Gauff. I enjoyed watching Serena Williams. I enjoy watching Caitlin Clark. I enjoy all of the Olympic sports that women play in. There's a lot of things that I love watching in women's sports, but men don't belong there because there's just an unfair advantage when it comes to size, speed, strength, athleticism. It's just not fair.
I will say this, I was in grade 4. We played the grade 7 girls. Came down to the last shot. I missed it. So I will say the grade 7 girls team beat the grade 4 boys team. You know?
And you missed the last second. Sounds like you guys were right there at least.
We were right there, man. We should have won it, you know? We just didn't take them seriously enough.
But to me, that's why Caitlin Clark has taken the world by storm and gotten guys to be interested, because for the first time, I'm not saying we were right by thinking this way, but for the first time, guys are watching a woman play basketball and saying to themselves, well, I can't do that. I can't. Some of the shots that Caitlin Clark hits, I can't hit on my best day at my peak prime athleticism in my mid-20s. So, but I didn't even play in college, so that's not a surprise. But like the average guy thinks higher of himself than he probably should.
Yeah.
And so we look at women's sports and we're like, I had a lot of bank shots, a lot of turnovers, playing below the rim, whatever. It kind of looks similar to like what we do, but like maybe worse than what we would do. But with Caitlin Clark, you watch and you're like, oh yeah, she would absolutely smoke me. Yeah. Like I have no chance against her. By the way, I think she's 6 foot too. So she's like the size of most guys that think they're all that too. So yeah. The game is shifting dramatically. The WNBA is on the rise. Caitlin Clark has accelerated it dramatically, but I do think we're starting to see like Sabrina and Paige Beckers. She's a baller. That Paige Beckers has a chance to be better than Caitlin Clark, it looks like, which is crazy.
Yep.
But from a pure skill and talent level, it actually looks like Paige Beckers could be right there. So the WNBA is on the rise. I'm actually excited for it because it goes through the summer when we're usually like kind of in the doldrums of like nothing going on in sports. We kind of wait for, at least for me, I wait for the French Open and for Wimbledon and big tennis and golf tournaments and things like that. But it'll be fun to follow WNBA now. Yeah, okay, moving on. Last story. Then we got to wrap up. I got a sprinkler guy here I got to go talk to. So if you've been following these celebrity races, the new thing is not celebrity boxing. We're moving to celebrity races.
Yeah.
Speed raced Ashton Hall. Then he raced Daniel LaBelle. Now Tyreek Hill's calling him out. This is kind of reminiscent of when Jake Paul started fighting Nate Robinson and all these different people who were good at fighting, but they weren't like true fighters. That's what Speed's doing right now with guys that are really, really fast, but they're not like Usain Bolt track athletes, right? I love this. I think it needs to be here to stay. He raced Ashton Hall, beat him. He had a 10-year advantage in his favor. Plus, you've got 20-year-old Speed versus 30-year-old Ashton Hall. You've got kind of runner's body Speed versus bodybuilder's body Ashton Hall. So there was a huge advantage. I'm not surprised Speed won. It was decently close, but he beat him 4 out of 4 times. Now he just raced Daniel LaBelle. I'm pretty sure Daniel LaBelle's 37 years old, and he's also pretty short. He's also a little stocky. It was not as close. Daniel LaBelle's very fast, but Speed beat him. Tyreek Hill's now calling him out. I just want to say, I want this to be a thing. I want celebrities to race each other. I think it's more exciting than watching them box each other. What do you think?
So Speed was on a podcast. I'm here with you. I want all of it. I need more of it. I need Speed versus Tyreek Hill. I need Tyreek Hill versus Noah Lyles. I need it. But
yeah.
Speed got on a podcast and he said, give me 4 years, 2028, I'm competing in the Olympics.
And the truth is, dude, he's just hitting his athletic prime right now, and he's lightning fast.
So fast.
Yeah. So if he truly trained for a few years, give it 2-3 years of like hard training, it wouldn't surprise me if he could make it in the 100-meter.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either.
I don't know that he'd necessarily make the podium, but to qualify for the Olympics, I think he could do it.
Where do you think he compares with?
I think Tyreek would probably beat him. It depends on the distance. I don't know. I actually don't know the distance these guys are racing. Like Ashton Hall and Speed, did they race 100 meters? I don't know. I think they did with Daniel LaBelle. I think they did 100 and then they shortened it to 60. It is harder to sustain that high speed for 100 meters than people think. Like, you are exhausted at the end. Like, go to your local track, go to your local high school, junior high, whatever, and go sprint for 100 meters. It's freaking hard. So I don't know if Tyreek's done that either, because a football field's only 100 yards, not 100 meters, and you rarely sprint that much. That's why in football they time you on the 40. So in 100 meters, I don't know who wins that one, Speed or Tyreek. In a 40 meters, I think Tyreek smokes him.
I want to see Sha'Carri Richardson versus Tyreek Hill. I want to see, because I saw a video of Sha'Carri and Speed, and Sha'Carri beat Speed by like, half a second.
You know what? I'm actually going to retract my statement, by the way, and that would be interesting, but I just realized we've seen tons of highlights of Tyreek running 100 meters. He did it, and he's done it all growing up. He's a sprinter. Tyreek could probably qualify for the Olympics. I think Tyreek would beat Speed, but Tyreek's also getting big and bulky. He's also getting a little bit older. So if he waits much longer, I think Speed will get him, because that matters. Like, carrying around the extra weight plus having a few extra years go by will affect your speed. So I'd like to see that one sooner than later, but it's really fun. I want to see more of this. I would love to see more and more celebrities racing each other, even if neither one of them super fast. Let's just make it a thing,
Yeah, I want to see Mr. Beast and like Aiden Ross, or Mr. Beast, and this is our official call out for the Tyreek Hill and Speed. This is our call out.
Yeah, make it happen, Speed. He's right there begging for it. You're both in Miami. We've all seen the social media posts. Let's make it happen. All right, you guys, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us. We are STB Sports Take. That's Clayton Levitt. I'm Sean Bingham. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the good stuff. We are out. Peace.